And it's getting more and more expensive.
What is it?
This is what I have every
Cocoa
night.
powder. All right, we're live. We'll start in about 30 seconds. Thank you. We went on early to make sure everything is ship shape, depending on the kind of ship. I don't know. You got it? Mm. Fix my shirt. All right. All right, man. Good evening. This is the Tibet Center, Kunshab Tardu Ling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically stages on the path to enlightenment, based on the Lamrim of Lama Tsongkhapa, Lamrim Chenmo. Any problems with the sound, the picture, etc., text me or Mr. Smith. All the prayers we say, including the new prayer that we'll say, and I'll tell you the story after we say the regular prayers. We're not going to say the whole prayer, just we'll work on it. They're on the website in the FAQ section. If there's anyone for whom you want us to pray for who has passed away recently, put their names in the chat box or text them to Mr. Smith, and we'll say, mention their name when we do the Sutra of the Recollection of Three Jewels. What's most important? Someone says something is important.
Thousands of people have died again.
Yes, we'll mention that at the time.
But even
Gaza, Darfur, I can mention places in the world. All right, so we'll start. Prayer for the spreading of teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. All the prayers are on the website in the FAQ section. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West, for all the people living there together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them. May all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Just the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Empty is not separate from form, Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Sharaputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva, mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Sharaputra and the Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. So refuge and bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for a refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So, Nicholas, as you know, our teacher, Venerable Thupten Lundap, or Venerable Nicky Breland, Rato Kenser, ex-abbot of Rato Monastery, visited His Holiness this past few days in Dharamsala and requested information as to the rebirth of Rato Chungla Rinpoche. And His Holiness suggested that we say this a prayer called In Praise of Dependent Arising, a poem that Tsongkhapa wrote upon his realizing emptiness directly at the highest level for the first time. At least he manifested that. Some say he was a Buddha long ago. Leave that for the scholars. Anyways, Rinpoche, Chungla Rinpoche, was requested to teach this. I used to ask him, but when my late wife Marie requested, he said right away. So then I said, well, Rinpoche, we have the prayers printed out. He says, no, I recite this from memory every morning. So it's 58 verses. We're not going to recite the whole thing. We have put that prayer in the FAQ section, and it's also supposedly underneath the screen now. What I'm going to do is, using this text by Losang Gyatso and Graham Woodhouse, the Venerable Graham Woodhouse, well, they're both monks, the Venerable Losang Gyatso. He's passed away. He was murdered. And Graham Woodhouse, this is a commentary on the praise for dependent relativity. Dependent arising, dependent relativity. Everyone's playing with the words in English. The more you read about, you'll get the idea. So I'll do like 2 or 3 verses today, that's all, and the commentary on it to get us started, and also to create the cause for the quick return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche. We're in good hands. We have His Holiness directly helping us. So. And we have Mickey stomping through the woods there to get us attention, doing a job for us. So let's see what happens. We'll create the cause. Let's see what we get as a result. So the poem is here. It's also in a book called the Autumn Moon, The Splendor of the Autumn Moon, a bunch of devotional poems written by Tsongkhapa and translated very well by Gavin Kilty. The translation that's on our website is the one by Gavin Kilty. This is a different one. We can split hairs about the translation. This and that. Since I don't speak Tibetan, I can't critique the translation, but I can understand the meaning somewhat with the commentary. First three verses go like this. Tsongkhapa wrote, "Through what you realized and proclaimed, the foremost knower and guide, subduer, I bow to you who saw and taught dependent relativity, or dependent arising, whatever you like." Second verse, "Whatever troubles of this world, their root is ignorance." Puts it right there. You taught the insight that reverses it, dependent relativity. The third verse, "How then would the intelligent not comprehend this pathway of dependent relativity to be your teaching's very core?" Is this important and relevant? You bet it is, because second by second, as we walk around, we are projecting reality that's not there. And this is designed to break through that to the true reality. You need a copy? It's a lot. Well, the verses are different translations, but the same meaning, and the words sometimes they're very close. So, good evening, Madame. How are you feeling? Better? Oh, good. A lot of people are ill. So, I'll start page 17 of the commentary. I'll be brief. This will help us understand it. This is worth its weight in gold, this text. And it's also very relevant because it deals with insight into emptiness, which is what we are studying now in the third volume of the Lamrim. So, and the same author wrote the Lamrim, wrote the poem. We can go on. It's so exciting. Shut up. Okay, here we go. The commentary on page 17. Buddha's teaching, the Dharma, is not merely a pleasant diversion, but rather a powerful medicine. You have to approach it that way. Buddha showed how the deep cause of all suffering lies within, ultimately tracing it back to afflicted or deluded states of mind, which we walk around with. He showed that turbulent emotions such as jealousy, hatred, attachment, and ignorant fanaticism are responsible for the harmful actions we do, and directly or indirectly, these actions bring about all the suffering of the world. That's as comprehensive as it gets. Dharma teachings are designed to nourish the mind and bring about restrained and balanced attitudes of equanimity and compassion so that we can remain content whatever the external conditions. We need that today. Then, with the powerful sword of wisdom, we can sever the very root of all delusions, mental afflictions, and negative emotions, and thereby completely emancipate ourselves from dissatisfaction. That's the real liberation. Dissatisfaction, you could call that dukkha, whatever. Even Buddha, whose knowledge is unlimited, was once a human being and began by relying on the encouragement of the teachings of others. Same way is now open to us. If the teacher can teach and the student can listen, in this spirit, put away all thoughts of fame, praise, material gain, or worldly knowledge, great benefit can ensue. So you react sincerely with the teachings. Never mind, oh, I'll know this and I can press so-and-so. Throw those things out of your mind. They don't belong there. What's that doing in your head? Venerable Woodhouse and Venerable Gyatso go on. The 5 prose works that Tsongkhapa composed on the view of emptiness contain a thorough evaluation of the many contrasting interpretations of Buddhist teachings on the profound view that arose in the centuries after his passing away. Praise for dependent relativity presents, as we will see, the very essence of this issue. So it is an excellent introduction to the main philosophic question on the path to liberation. What did Buddha mean when he taught selflessness or emptiness? He did write 5 other books. They're very complicated, like Sheng Ningpo, etc., Ocean of Wisdom. This is a core of it. You can recite this prayer every day. You may not understand most of it, but it's embedded in your mind stream. Your mind is very quick. It'll pick it up eventually. Not tomorrow, Well, maybe if you're very good. So it doesn't hurt, okay? In praise for dependent relativity, Tsongkhapa couldn't not be more pointed in emphasizing the equivalence of emptiness and dependent relativity. In stressing this, he makes no claim to originality. We're not busy being original here. He might have said that his elucidation was only a tweak of interpretation to bring Buddha's intended meaning back into focus, but in the face of so many wayward assertions, it is a much needed tweak and an utterly crucial one. The emptiness topic, the topic is very critical to understand it precisely, because it goes right deep down as to how we react to the world nanosecond by nanosecond. It's very important. Can we link to the Tsongkhapa poem? We have a question from the audience. We have it on our website. Yeah, that's it. So it's there. It should be in the FAQ section. And right below this video right now, if you get rid of my face, it's underneath it. Get rid of my face. I don't blame you. With an understanding of this equivalence, the sword of wisdom is tempered and sharp. I like his imagery here. Without it, there's no cutting through. Making this point crystal clear is the philosophical agenda of these verses. So in the first verse, he said, you realized and proclaim, and he calls Buddha the subduer of all the sufferings. I hope you feel better, Lord. We pray for you daily, and you will feel better, and you will conquer. Tsongkhapa singles out Buddha's powers of wisdom and speech, especially his insight into and revelation of dependent relativity. He's praising him for the core of his teachings. Not that he looks nice, he calms people down. The core, right to the bottom of all the trouble in the world. He perfected his own understanding of dependent relativity and taught it widely, thoroughly elucidating its far-reaching implications. He is supreme for these qualities. That's his supreme contribution. And that's the doctrine of Buddhism, the ultimate doctrine of Buddhism, which makes it different from any other religion. They all teach compassion and brotherhood, etc., and so forth. The doctrine of emptiness is uniquely Buddhist, at least on paper. Buddha had an outstanding ability to teach in accordance with his listeners' predispositions and needs. Through the completeness of his knowledge, indeed his omniscience, he understood each individual listener's capacities and inclinations and skillfully taught according to their level of understanding. For instance, as we'll see, his teaching on selflessness has several different levels. Yes, the four schools themselves, this one says the wrong thing, this was a better, and better, all taught by the Buddha to set up the perfect step to realize the most subtle doctrine of emptiness, understanding of emptiness. It's necessary, so we shouldn't, this school doesn't know. I repeat that constantly because it's important. Each one of these is helpful for a certain type of mindset looking into these teachings at a certain time. Someone's more developed than the other. You can't give very high teachings to someone who's just starting. You don't teach quantum physics to the kindergarten. Maybe these days, I don't know, the kids are smart, but that's that. I'll skip around. Now, all religions present a path to lasting happiness, but the authenticity of Buddha's path does not depend on intuition, divine revelation, or dogmatic authority. None of those things. The resultant state of happiness is not achieved by appeasing a potentially harmful power or bestowed by a ruling deity. No. Rather, freedom comes from when we remove the defilements of ignorance from our own minds. It's an internal job. We do this by cultivating reason-based wisdom and then through concentrated meditation on the insights that wisdom brings. You not only understand it, but then you have to burn it in, because the realization will drift away and not influence your behavior, not influence your mindset. That's the reason why we familiarize, which is another word for meditation. Upon learning these things, upon setting the meanings thoroughly, then we hold it. That's the technique. Buddha has many qualities. We'll talk about them. We don't have to. Stages of the path guidebooks arrange Buddha's many teachings into a clear sequence of mental development. We must think through the understanding set out there and take them to heart one by one. Here's a big point. Prayer and other forms of devotion certainly help to make the mind supple removing dullness and awakening the pure energy necessary to make those insights our own. But the Buddha's exposition of dependent relativity and its corollary, emptiness, is thoroughly amenable to plain logical analysis. You do not have to have a one-pointed mind so that it helps to understand it more, but to get a firm confidence in this, plain logic. These twin truths are indeed the key insight and dependence on which Buddha became the triumphant subduer, as Tsongkhapa praises him. And we will just let's see. Personal liberation is nirvana, a stable. I'm just jumping around for the sake of time, but if you're really interested, you can get a hold of this book. It's everywhere, Amazon, etc. Also for the Bangse bookstore, the one that the Woodstock Monastery has. They have a very good bookstore. They're online. Personal liberation is nirvana, a stable state of withdrawal and peace where suffering and conflict are at last extinct, and one is free of any compulsion to take rebirth. The second set of obstructions, the obstructions to omniscience, are the subtler defilements that prevent us from attaining the unlimited direct understanding of the all-embracing compassion of a Buddha. In other words, liberation is not Buddhahood. You go beyond that if you're a bodhisattva. So, one little more thing I'm going to go through the four maras. We won't do that tonight because we have something else to go to. So just an introduction. This prayer is on the website. His Holiness recommends that Rinpoche's, those who are interested in Rinpoche's swift return, say the prayer when you have time. Daily, weekly, whatever you got, But remember, Rato Chungla recited every morning from memory. I knew him a long time before he came out with that one. Always the last to know. That's me. So this is again from the modern Lamrim, I'm calling it, and His Holiness calls it that in the introduction to this first volume of soon to be 10 volumes, 9 are out already, Approaching the Buddhist Path. This is Buddhism presented without too much dogma, so that a person who's not even interested in the religion part of it, just wants good advice, can easily find something they like here. It's put together nicely. Tools for the Path. Yay. Here's a screwdriver. No. 191, page 91. General advice so far. And I'll do a little of this until maybe the last quarter or third of the class. We'll do the 13th chapter, which is heavy. It's very heavy. Okay. Learning the Dharma is different from learning subjects in school. This is important stuff for us. Think carefully, not hard to understand. Not only is our motivation different, well, it should be, we seek the method to attain fortunate rebirths, liberation, or awakening, but also the methodology is different, the way we learn. Our spiritual mentors present topics that are comparatively easy to understand, as well as those that are more challenging in the same Dharma talk. That's true. Sometimes their response to our questions leads to more confusion. Our mentors instruct us to think about the topic and discuss it with others, but we want them to give us the right answer. This is our mindset in the 21st century, having gone through the Western education. We want, hey, what's the answer? Maybe you're not framing the question right. Unlike academic studies in the West, where we are expected to remember and understand everything our teacher says so that we can pass a test, this is not necessarily the case in Dharma education. They're not interested in you parroting back. A good teacher isn't anyway. It's nice that you at least took time to memorize or learn, but parroting back is not going to get you in much. While we should try to remember and reflect on the salient points of a lecture, we are not expected to understand all the intricacies of a topic at once. Teachers explain a topic to plant seeds in our mind stream so that we will become familiar with the vocabulary. Very important. And we're going to do a little of that tonight. Vocabulary is key. Vocabulary is key. Too much coffee. Having heard the topic once, the next time we hear it, we will be able to focus on the concepts being presented. So over and over again, listening is important. By hearing and reflecting on a teaching repeatedly, our understanding and ability to integrate the meaning into our lives will gradually increase. I remember His Holiness telling Rato Rinpoche, who was in his 60s, and a Geshe and an incarnate Lama, etc., when he had to teach in a seminar in Indiana on Shantideva's book, he says, well, to prepare, read it again 100 times. He did. The whole book every day for 100 days. He did. So repetition brings in things to you. Understanding the Dharma is not dependent on worldly intelligence. Some people who are brilliant in academic studies or worldly affairs have great difficulty understanding Dharma principles. On the other hand, some people who do not do so well in school quickly catch the intent of the Buddha and practice diligently. For this reason, we should not be arrogant because we have worldly intelligence and not put ourselves down if we lack it. Different metrics are applied here. This is a different game. We need to be patient with ourselves and let go of unrealistic expectations of quick attainments. We should also avoid comparing ourselves to others and feeling proud that we are more advanced than our friends or lamenting that we lag behind them. Give that up immediately. Too much mental time wasted on that. Each person has different predispositions from previous lives, so no two people will progress at the same speed or in the same way. Comparison of this sort only breeds jealousy, arrogance, and competition, qualities that waste time and are not conducive for transforming our mind. Very nicely said. This is His Holiness directly. So people asked Tupten children, venerable children, she said he wrote this. I just clean the language, this and that. Some of the examples, like free ways or things like that she brings in throughout the volumes, are hers. And the sections on researching the Pali Canon, the Chinese Canon, she did a lot on her own, but mostly it's His Holiness. She did a good job. The two of them was very good. Similarly, they continue on page 192. Similarly, due to karmic connections in previous lives, our friends may be drawn to a particular teacher who does not particularly inspire us, and vice versa. Yeah. It's not the fan system, so-and-so is playing tonight. We got to go see him. What, you don't like him? Come on. Different story here. Rather than be influenced by peer pressure, we must choose our teachers depending on the quality of guidance we receive from them and the depth of connection we feel with them. We should avoid comparing the practices our teachers instruct us to do with those our friends are prescribed. Oh yeah? Oh. Because no two sentient beings are identical. The Buddha taught a wide variety of practices so people could find those suitable for them. That does not make one practice better and another worse. It simply means that one practice is more suitable for one person and a different practice for another person. And here's the nice metaphor. At a buffet dinner, one person may like rice and another noodles. I hope there's more than that on the table. But anyway, debating which is best, trying to convert our friends to our preference, or feeling out of place when we aren't attracted to the one our friends like are useless. The point is for each person to eat food that nourishes his or her body. We should study with the teachers who inspire us and practice in the way that works best for us. You have freedom. Don't fall in line, because you're going to have to use your own innate intelligence. And following along with the crowd puts down the innate intelligence, doesn't it? Tempers it, suppresses it. Page 193, they go on. Strong, continuous, and stable spiritual experiences are more reliable than powerful, fleeting ones. So I'll take those two, but some beginners have a strong emotional feeling that they must renounce everything and meditate in solitude for the rest of their lives. Instead of immediately searching for an isolated retreat hut, they should keep practicing and see if after a year the feeling still has the same intensity. If it does, they should consult their teacher for guidance. For most people, meditating in isolated retreat for years is not an option or even a preference. The vast majority of us need to balance Dharma study and sitting meditation with our daily life activities. This I love for its real-world perspective. Formal daily sitting practice enables us to deepen and integrate our understanding of the Dharma in a concentrated way, but the actual determining factor of the effectiveness of our practice manifests in our behavior. There's a story of someone who meditated in an isolated cave for years and thought his practice was progressing well, but when he went down to the town to get supplies, someone criticized him, his anger immediately flared, and he began shouting at the other person. Similar incidents in our lives show us which disturbing emotions we need to put more energy into taming in our sitting practice. You blow it, so you go back and reconsider, why did I blow it, the reasons, etc. Slowly, you're vaccinating yourself against these outbursts. People often ask how to balance formal Dharma practice with activity engaging in projects that benefit others. If you are a householder, 50-50 is a good balance. In other words, how much should we do helping the world, volunteer this and that? How much should we do sitting alone and studying? 50-50 of the time you've allotted for Buddha practice. That's Holiness. He likes that word 50-50, by the way. I often heard that. But remember that how this balance manifests in your life will change according to circumstances. So be flexible. Stabilize your compassion through formal practice and express it through active service to others. That's a nice little thing to memorize. Stabilize your compassion through formal practice and express it through active service to others. They will complement each other. Work at transforming your motivation, thus making your daily activities part of the Dharma path. If you feel stressed by your service work for others or become angry or disappointed in the people whom you are trying to help, step back, rest, take more time for personal practice. You moderate. During your meditation practice, focus on developing a compassionate motivation, fortitude, and joyous effort. Learn to accept the limits of the change you can enact in a world under the influence of afflictions and polluted karma. Is this world under the influence of affliction and polluted karma? Let me check. Come on. Sad. Sometimes we go too far in the other direction, becoming complacent in our Dharma studies or in a stagnant meditation practice. We just mail it in. In these cases, contemplate impermanence and death, as well as the suffering of sentient beings, to reinvigorate your compassion. He has a few little hints, reflections, he calls them. A balanced life entails sharing our time among many activities. Dharma practice, socially engaged projects that benefit others, work, caring for friends and family, exercise and other activities, and recreation. And let's not be fanatics about this. What is a practical way to prioritize these activities in your life? You make a list or whatever, make a mental, look into it, in other words. So, and 3, given your talents and limitations, think of a realistic way to apportion your time and energy that will bring you satisfaction, not stress. So you want to run for president, you better have the goods and the money and become a real phony. But anyway, that's it. Wisdom and faith. This is a little more dharmic now. Wisdom and faith complement and reinforce each other on the path. Faith is we're going to pull apart the meaning of faith now, because it seems that wisdom, you either know something. Faith is you don't know anything, but you just trust. No. Here's the nice breakout. Whereas faith enables us to be inspired and receptive, wisdom gives us a clear mind that understands both conventional existence and ultimate reality. Well, we're working on it. His Holiness continues. Wisdom is an analytical mind that deeply understands its object, such as impermanence or selflessness. Analysis is not intellectual gymnastics used to impress others. It involves deep investigation into the nature of objects and leads to understanding and knowledge. It is an internal activity. We can yak about it in Starbucks or whatever with your friends. Very nice, but don't get carried away. The English word faith does not have the same connotation as the Sanskrit word it translates, shraddha. To understand what faith is, we must look beyond our previous associations with the word to its meaning as explained here. Faith is confidence and trust in the 3 jewels. It is not blind belief. 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? A virtuous and joyous mental factor. Who's got the police radio on? It's not that bad, is it? A virtuous and joyous mental factor. It enriches our spiritual practice and arises when we admire the 3 jewels, aspire to be like them, or deeply understand the teachings. We start admiring. We're like, what is this? Is interesting. Blah, 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 right? Accordingly, the mind and awareness texts speak of three types of faith or trust: admiring faith, aspiring faith, and believing faith. Admiring, aspiring, believing. Okay. Admiring faith, number one, arises when we learn about the excellent qualities of the three jewels, or witness the good qualities of our spiritual mentors and admire them. Wow, these really spoke nicely, etc. You're starting to admire. You hear His Holiness, you hear whoever, Rinpoche, whoever's around, all the good lamas, Sakya Trinzit. It may also arise from reading the biographies of previous practitioners, contemplating their diligence and determination, and reflecting on the difficulties they overcame to practice the Dharma. The story of Milarepa, of Marpa, Zapatral Rinpoche, we can go on. Chungla Rinpoche's book. This faith clears away mental distress and makes the mind joyful. That's the results of something like that. In extreme cases, admiring faith could degenerate into blind faith, which has little value and may be dangerous. That's the kick. Admiring, and then whatever he says, that's where you have to really have discrimination. So, but authentic admiring faith is a vital and aid on the path that serves to orient our efforts in a positive direction. Second, aspiring faith. This arises when we develop the wish to attain the excellent qualities of the three jewels, the Dharma quality, Buddha, Sangha, etc. I like to be like that. I'm going to orient my life that way. It arises how? From reflecting on the possibility of removing defilements and attaining liberation. We scope it out to see if it's doable. You have to do that. You can't just say, he studied, I'm sorry. What's going on here? Let me see. That's important. Sharp faculty, right? They call it, and gives purpose and energy to our practice. If it's done right, you can't wait to practice. You want to look into things. You grab books, etc. When we know the benefit of serenity and concentration, we have faith in them and aspire to attain them. You always look to the benefits of having a certain quality and the faults of not having it to motivate yourself. Just like a salesman sells you a blender or whatever. Oh, the best, the other one's crap, blah, blah, blah. If you have this, you can do this, you can do that. You have this car. So anyway, same thing. That's the way our minds work. The third type of faith, believing faith, is of two kinds. There's two types, okay? The first believes the truth of the Buddha's teachings because they were taught by the Buddha and our spiritual mentors, and we trust them. This faith may arise due to reasons that we have only partially verified or without applying reasoning. We didn't look into it deeply. The second type of believing faith is based on conviction and arises after having examined and understood a teaching, because it often involves a reasoning used to verify the topic. Because of that, this faith is stable. Yes, you reason. Very important. Having contemplated the Four Truths for a long time, we become convinced that they accurately describe our predicament and how to remedy it. The truths of suffering, cause of suffering, ending of suffering, path, method of ending it, right? Those four truths. After studying and using reasoning to investigate the ultimate nature of phenomena, we experience a calm conviction that all persons and phenomena are empty of inherent existence. We come to a conclusion based on reason. This is very, very important. You have to undertake the practice of emptiness that way. We are confident that by realizing this directly, we will be able to uproot the self-grasping ignorance that is the source of all dukkha, all dissatisfaction, all suffering at varying degrees. In these examples, believing faith is directed towards the Dharma jewel, the teachings, true paths, and true cessations. The Dharma jewel causes you to go on a true path and truly cease all the afflictions. And you come out of that omniscient and a Buddha. What's wrong with that? From this firm confidence in the Buddha and the Sangha jewel, easily follow. Buddha practiced this. The Sangha is practicing this. This makes sense. I'm going to look more into it. On your own time, carefully, slowly, take some time out to try and think through as you're walking around during the day at work or whatever. From this firm confidence, the Buddha and the Sangha easily follow. Such faith born of conviction stabilizes our practice, enabling us to pursue the Dharma in depth. Tsongkhapa illustrates this second topic here. We go with this poem. It's sneaking in. The second type of believing faith, arising from reason, in his praise to dependent arising. Here's those verses from that prayer that we're advised to say by His Holiness that apply to this topic. Having seen the truth, you taught it. Those following you will leave all troubles far behind, for they will cut the root of every fault. However, those outside your teachings, though they practice long and hard, are those who beckon back faults, for they are welded to views of self. When the wise see the difference, how could they not revere you from the very depths of their hearts? That's from that same poem. Different, I don't know what verses they are. The second type of believing faith, His Holiness goes on, arises from deep conviction that is born from clearly knowing and analyzing the distinction between the Buddhist teachings and those of masters who adhere to views of inherent existence. And in chapter 13 and others, we're going to go through this master said that, this one said that. No, Buddha said this. And it's laid out for us. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the other people's wrong, quote, wrong view, because it was taught to bring people along to a more subtler point. So do not denigrate it. That's a bad karma act to do. Denigrating the teaching of the Buddha. Let it roll. Try to understand it from that point of view. After examining both teachings with discerning wisdom and clearly seeing the truth in the Buddhist teachings, the wise have no choice but to feel great faith, trust, and respect for the Buddha. It will come up automatically when you start understanding. You don't have to go, I believe him. Understand, and then it happens. Cause and effect. Yay! Tsongkhapa expresses this with these moving words. Alas, my mind was defeated by ignorance. Though I've sought refuge for a long time in such an embodiment of excellence, I possess not a fraction of his qualities. Nonetheless, before the stream of this life flowing towards death has come to cease, that I have found slight faith in you, even this I think is fortunate. He's being very humble, and that's what they all do. So let me see how much time. All right, I'll squeeze the end of this chapter. In the first verse, qualities refers chiefly to insight into emptiness, of course. Tsongkhapa acknowledges that for a long time, ignorance has obscured his mind. Yet, due to gaining some understanding of emptiness, he experienced faith based on conviction in the doctrine of emptiness taught by the Buddha with great compassion. Considering how few people encounter teachings on emptiness, and among those, how few gain even a modest understanding of it, Tsongkhapa felt fortunate to trust in the truth of non-inherent existence. Pondering this will increase our aspiring faith and motivate us to practice like the Buddha did and attain some depth of realization. Take your time, scope this out, see what you can do with it. These feelings then will come based on that, this conviction. Don't force it. Learn the teachings well and use reason to reflect on their meaning. If you do not find any logical fallacies or contradictions, you will have believing faith in the path and possibility of attaining it. This is possible. That faith, in turn, will help increase your trust in those topics that cannot be understood completely through factual inference, such as the intricacies of karma and its effect. Certain things we can't understand until we're full Buddhists. But, as Rinpoche always said, the most important thing, doctrine of emptiness, is accessible to normal reasoning. And it's the most important. If Buddha didn't lie about that, he's certainly not going to lie about these things which are relatively less important. You know, you gave an apple to someone, later on you're a king, 10 years, 1,000 years later. None of that is as important as understanding the nature of reality. Believing that actions bring concordant results is sufficient. That's all you need to know about karma. Bad action, bad result. It's sufficient to help us curb destructive actions and act constructively, thus accumulating merit, which aids in the increase of wisdom. In Buddhism, wisdom and faith are not contradictory, and when properly cultivated, they increase each other. Wisdom and faith are not contradictory, and when properly cultivated, they increase each other. Harry Bhadra, in a commentary on Maitreya's Ornament of Clear Realization, speaks of having faith not only in the three jewels, but also in the treatises that take the three jewels as their subject matter. While many people have admiring faith in the three jewels, not many have faith in their treatises that discuss them. Yeah. Faith in the treatises and their authors leads us to study texts, which increases our knowledge of the three jewels. This, in turn, promotes contemplating and then meditating on the meaning that we learn, thereby deepening both our wisdom and believing faith. These, in turn, are essential factors for our awakening. Again, the whole structure is step by step. Start to understand. The emotional force will come with that understanding. The force that brings you to study more and more comes with understanding. Take your time. There is no fixed order in which faith and wisdom arise. According to individual tendencies, faith may give rise to wisdom, wisdom may lead to faith, or these two may occur simultaneously. Stabilizing our faith increases our resilience. Stable faith is not affected by the opinions of others and prevents discouragement when viewing others' wrongdoings. Our faith in the Buddhist teachings will not falter should we find a statement in the scriptures or one said by our teacher with which we initially disagree. Instead, we will continue to investigate. This is good advice here, practical, real world. So we have to go now to the 13th chapter, Sangha Paslamrim, Volume 3. Yay, release 04. So this is just a bit, we're going to be doing a bit on vocabulary. According to, this is page 166. According to Master Chandrakirti, this is Sanghapa's straight words. It's very thick. Yeshe Sopa will explain them probably tomorrow night. I don't think we'll have time tonight, but the topic will be the same. According to the Master Chandrakirti, if something were established by way of its intrinsic character, we're talking about intrinsic character, meaning something that stands alone by itself, doesn't interact with others, etc. Well, that doesn't exist. Well, that's the way we see things. We see things inherently existent. We don't realize it. We've always been doing that, and it's the root of all our agitation. So, how to get that in commercial? So if something were established by way of its intrinsic character or essence, it would be something true. Hence, a valid cognition that posited such a truly existent object would have to be valid regarding the object's intrinsic character, of which there is none, but let's let it roll. However, because objects are false, the valid cognition that posits them does not have to be valid regarding their intrinsic character. So Chandrakirti said, yet there is valid cognition, even though these things, we see things as inherently existent, yet part of that is useful and valid. Part of it isn't. Okay, they'll explain. Chandrakirti's commentary on the 400 stanza says, it is not reasonable that worldly perception should cancel perception of reality, because worldly perception is valid only for the world, and because the objects it observes have a false and deceptive quality. How are they false and deceptive? You mean this is not a book? Come on, that's a book. No, it is a book. What's deceptive is the way it appears to our minds as inherently existent. We forget that it's dependent on a lot of things, including the mind viewing it and naming it. But that's the point. Therefore, since Chandrakirti is refuting the logician's position that sensory consciousnesses are valid regarding the intrinsic character of objects, he need not refute the position they are simply valid cognitions. Valid for the world. We get by on that. We use it every minute. Consequently, Chandrakirti is not, this is page 167 of volume 3, is not giving a general refutation of the position that there are valid cognitions among conventional consciousnesses. No, he said, if he were, then it would not be reasonable for him to say, as the world sees it, a valid cognition is simply a non-deceptive consciousness. Yeah. In other words, you see it for what it is. You see, that's a book and not a brick. Okay. The snow is white, not yellow, guys. You got jaundice. Things like that. Okay. A valid cognition is simply a non-deceptive consciousness because he would have refuted the validity of every sort of conventional consciousnesses. Also, this would contradict Chandrakirti's clear words, the Prasannapada, where he presents direct, inferential, scriptural, and analogical valid cognitions, saying, we therefore posit that the world knows objects with 4 cognitions. The 4 cognitions will be enumerated by Geshe Sopa. Probably get to it tomorrow night because it is already 12 minutes till time. Chandrakirti doesn't refute valid cognitions and objects of comparison that are contingently posited, dependent arising. Contingently posited, dependent arising. Hey, that gets you out of trouble. Think that way. The clear word says, those are established through mutual dependence. When valid cognitions exist, then there are things that are objects of comprehension. When there are things that are objects of comprehension, then there are valid cognitions. In other words, it depends on the mind, seeing it. The object and the mind cooperate. However, neither valid cognitions nor objects of comprehension exist essentially on their own. He snuck in a subtle dependency there. Objects are dependent on the mind, on a designated consciousness. Snuck it right in nicely while we were asleep, while we were eating popcorn. Therefore, Tsongkhapa continues on page 167, if a sensory consciousness is unimpaired, that is, no eye disease or other internal or external cause of error is affecting it, then it is accurate in conventional terms. Yes, that's a Tesla, my friend. It's going to cost you. It is mistaken in terms of appearance because, under the inference of ignorance, it apprehends its objects as though were intrinsically existent. Yeah, that Tesla is not intrinsically existent, which it is not. However, you're going to buy it and you're going to use it. Yet, this does not contradict its conventional accuracy. Chandrakirti's commentary on the Middle Way says, also, perceivers of falsities are of two types. This is very easy to understand. Sounds ruffled, but it's not. Those with clear sensory faculties and those with impaired sensory faculties. A consciousness with an impaired sensory faculty is considered wrong in relation to the consciousness with a good sensory faculty. You're seeing yellow snow when it's really white because you have jaundice, that's all. The consciousness that says it's white is valid for the world. Those objects known by the world and apprehended with 6 unimpaired sensory faculties, unimpaired, are true for the world. The rest are posited as unreal for the world. That is not water, that's a mirage. Oh yeah, you're right. I can't drink it. That's the two different things. Thus, conventional consciousnesses and their objects are of two types, accurate in relation to conventional consciousness and inaccurate in relation to conventional consciousness. Accurate in terms of the world's viewing, understanding, and inaccurate. With regard to internal conditions that impair the sensory faculties, Chandrakirti's explanation of the Middle Way commentary, Yamavatara says, eye disease, jaundice, and so forth, as well as eating datura. Oh no, don't eat datura. When's the last time you had datura, Mark? You have any? No? Datura, have you had it? Let's have a datura pie. I think it's a hallucinogen. I'm not sure. Something old. There's a note on it. I didn't look it up. And so forth are internal conditions that impair the sensory faculties. You got it. Drinking a fifth of scotch is going to impair your sensory faculties. I guarantee. Well, maybe not for you. With regard to external conditions that impair sensory faculties, the same text says, well, we don't have to go through this. External conditions that impair include sesame oil, water, mirrors, sound spoken in caves. That's an echo, all that. We don't have to go through that because we don't have much time. He says that bad tenets and false reasoning are conditions that degrade the mental consciousness. He says that conditions such as sleep also degrade the mental consciousness associated with dreams and so forth. Therefore, you should not consider the impairment of being affected by ignorance as a cause of impairment in this context, even though the object apprehended by ignorance does not exist even conventionally, as will be explained below. But we're not even getting into, in this little section, whether it inherits its mode of being. We're just getting rid of the way things appear to the average person and what's false and what's real. Mirage, echo, these things are not as they seem. So for whom will we pray? Let's see. I have a little bit of a chat box. Bula Bula, yes, Leslie. Good evening, Leslie. How are you? Glad you're out of that Phoenix, wherever you are. Cowboy country there. Nobody's names? No names. So, Sherry, the Middle East, the Gaza slaughter, the Israelis, both, everywhere there's war and conflict, beings are misapprehended. Yes. Henry Kissinger. We'll pray for Henry Kissinger. Yes. Who? He was. Henry Kissinger was our mother. Putin. Trump.
The thing is, there are more and more deaths in Gaza now.
There are more deaths everywhere. Yes, look at the news. Darfur. And every once in a while, India erupts with its own little slaughters back. Every place. Look, let's get real. We'll do our best. These are afflictions that cause all this violence. These are people thinking they're going to get their way by this. And it never worked in all the history of the world. It's not going to work now. So I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arahat. Sorry to be preachy. Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He's the teacher of all sentient beings. He's the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavat, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata, pure the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a whole field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So quickly, news. Tomorrow night we'll have a class, Dharma class continuation of this one at 7 o'clock at the Parsonage in South Orange, New Jersey. All are welcome. It's nice and warm. You'll enjoy the images, etc. Saturday, we have White Tara at 1 o'clock, also at the Parsonage. All are welcome. We have nice food after we finish. Jackie, Venerable Tenzin Karuna, it's hard to get used to the name, will be arriving Friday and will show up Saturday, all things going to plan, at Tara for the first time in many months. So those of you who know her, and she will be teaching here some nights, maybe every other session here, and some nights in the Parsonage. She'll be here for a couple of months through the end of February. So those are the things occurring in the Tibet Center now. Tenzin and Lavinia, I hope you both feel better. Lavinia, hope you don't get sick. Tenzin, feel better right away. We need you. He's our friend. So thank you for your kind, patient listening. Big love to all of you. Take care, guys.
Tony, are you still doing this online also?
What, this?
Are you still doing that center teaching?
This is online. What do you think? We have a...
Lincoln was shot, did you know?